Hello? Hello, everybody. My name is Jeremy Woodlee. I work at Google in the DoubleClick part of the world. On the buy side, I'm our mobile sales champion. Nice to see everybody, and we're looking forward to a fun panel. Go ahead, everybody on the panel, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is, can you hear me okay? My name is Gregg Colvin. I'm the North American COO of University of McCann, and I thank you, Karen. I generally walk into Beyonce, so I appreciate that being here.
I'm Scott Symonds. I'm the Managing Director of Media at AKQA. We're a leading digital agency. We're headquartered down the street.
Hi, my name is Riskin. I'm the CTO over at Ansible Mobile. We are part of the IPG group of companies as well, and we are a mobile-specific agency.
So I'll just get things started a little bit. You know, in the Google world, we're seeing mobile as a hugely disruptive technology. The pace of adoption of these devices we have exceeds virtually any technology we've seen ever. You know, in the advertising world, it means a shift in consumer behavior fundamentally. You know, in the world, our world, in the ad exchange, we're seeing mobile inventory start to overtake non-mobile inventory. We're already well over 33% of our inventory being mobile, and we expect sometime in 2014 that to exceed mobile inventory to exceed non-mobile inventory sometime probably in the middle of the year. So, you know, this big shift in consumer behavior, two of the things we think about when we look at this is one is scale, like this opportunity to reach people, billions of people on billions of devices all during the day. Just huge opportunities to reach the consumers you care about. But also personalization. These devices are personal devices fundamentally. They are in your hand, on your lap, you're using them all the time, and there's lots of great data around that. And when you look at that opportunity to do advertising in a personal way at scale, fundamentally the only way to do this effectively and efficiently is programmatic, to use data, to use the pipes that are out there to go out and put the advertising story in front of consumers. So that's what we want to talk today about, is mobile programmatic and sort of what's going on out there. And what I've asked the panelists to do is to bring an example or two of success stories here in mobile programmatic, because it's a very new part of the mobile and advertising world. And so I'll let you guys take it from here.
Okay. Who wants to start? I guess I'll start. With the sexy, exciting topic of programmatic and mobile. Look, programmatic is as we move towards programmatic, it's sort of a necessity, right? There's so much data, there's so much inventory, but we're looking at programmatic as a buying mechanism more than anything else. And I get worried sometimes when we talk about programmatic, because it kind of takes away what's unique and special about mobile, the immediacy. But we have a number of cases where we've been buying programmatically through Magna, which is an IPG entity, oftentimes through you guys, with Wells Fargo and some of our other clients, and Sony, especially where we've had great success between devices and retargeting people. It's an efficient way for us to cut through the clutter. It's an efficient way for us to get to the data we need and be able to target the consumers that we're going after, freeing up our planners to really think about the types of programs that they need to be creating and activating on.
So I'll sort of echo, definitely a new space. I think what's most exciting for us in the programmatic space and mobile is sort of watching what's happening, or has happened, or is happening in desktop, and trying to figure out where we can leapfrog versus sort of run through the last 10 years all over again. I think you know, what we lack in the mobile RTB space is sort of the deep data, the cookie-related data around audience, but still the same idea of audience targeting, replacing things that are duller and less interesting, like demo targeting. So we're finding the most use of the exchange space in mobile right now is working with retail and CPG clients, really using the place-based data. We think is one of the exciting additions to the exchange marketplace versus sort of the desktop marketplace, and also just looking forward. So it's, you know, early days there, starting to see mostly competitive tracking as well as some sort of owned own physical space tracking, but also looking forward very much to what mobile exchange can be in terms of new data, whether it's wearables, or the quantified self data, or connected car. Understanding that the mobile data that will be in a mobile exchange looking forward will be very different and potentially more personal, more of the moment than maybe what we get from desktop right now. So that's the excitement factor for us looking forward.
So, Ansible, obviously, we're a mobile-specific company, so pretty much all our campaigns are mobile in some way. But one of the more interesting things, I mean, I don't necessarily know that I have any mobile kind of position-related, like location-related examples, but one example I can point out is we did an ad campaign for Tylenol, where we put together a programmatic buy that would allow us to both target individuals who are kind of what they considered at risk for chronic pain, that sort of thing. And programmatic itself allows you to drill down so much more specifically, especially when you combine that with kind of third-party enrichment data. So you can not only say, okay, you're only going to display advertisements on a page where there's browsing data about chronic pain of some sort, but also we can get an idea of whether that page is a positive or a negative sentiment on that page. So we utilize the third-party enrichment data to kind of say, okay, we're only going to provide data or advertisements for Tylenol. They're going to be very specific to that. Doing all that without programmatic manually, that would just be a nightmare to try to do that. And with that particular campaign, we found out that I think something like 78% of the advertisements went to people who were in that at-risk category.
Did that performance profile, did it differ from other things they were doing in mobile or just in their general advertising? Like, how did it differ programmatic versus a different approach that I do? I'm just curious if the results of that campaign differ significantly from what they did in other places, like pure mobile without programmatic, their normal advertising campaigns. Was there something about the mobile programmatic mix that was special?
I don't necessarily know that it was special, being mobile, in that particular case, but the programmatic part of it, mobile in general, you can't look at it as a separate silo. You can't look at it as something that's just, this is mobile and this is tablet and this is desktop, and they all perform differently. Mobile is going to be, there are, new signals that we have, things like location, which are great, and there are going to be other signals that we'll get in the future. But I don't think you can separate it that way. So I can't say that, it's necessarily that different.
What I would say is where it gets interesting, programmatic on its own, like, again, it's not the most exciting topic in the world, but what it does is it allows us to enter a different world. Right now, I think what we're all saying is there was a time where we called out mobile, merrymakers said over here, this is a year of mobile, but ultimately we're becoming pretty platform agnostic, and we're talking about content. But more importantly, we're talking, especially at UM, about moments and how you communicate with the consumer at a specific time, irrespective of the platform. Now, mobile offers a ton of flexibility, and it's a portable platform, and it's really immediate, and you know who the person is. But it really has become about, improving those moments and capturing people in the most interesting ways. Guys like Keith and Brian's right here are doing a really incredible job of that. And programmatic is really just almost the table stakes now. Let's use that as an efficient buying platform, add some great data underneath it, and allow us as media experts to really be planning for a specific moment or a specific idea or circumstance rather than worrying necessarily about the buying mechanism.
I think one interesting about mobile programmatic, Tylenol, maybe it's higher interest, but if it's sort of for CPG and low consideration or low interest products, I think it's really potentially game changing because I think there's sort of limited desktop investigation opportunity for a lot of CPG products, whether it's a cleaner or something like that you don't have a heavy relationship with. It's just maybe more of the moment when you're in the store when something happens. That's where mobile programmatic becomes opportunistic versus desktop or some other things. Also potentially becomes disruptive versus the store opportunity, point of purchase, or couponing. So I think there's a lot of energy, potential revenue, money, investment opportunities at stake for mobile programmatic real-time audience buying. And then also sort of using data to trigger events. There's a lot of fairly obvious and famous sort of weather or flu-based things being tracked against triggers.
more private device. So that I'd say that's one thing you can definitely segregate. And then they'll search for more things. They'll browse things that they wouldn't necessarily browse on a public computer that's shared household computers.
So one thing we talked about when we were prepping for this panel was the idea: are we repeating history here? Is this a new version of display advertising? Is it something fundamentally different? Like how would you guys respond to that? Are we going to repeat some of the mistakes, or are we headed down a different path?
I'll go first. One area where we are doing all over again is I do feel like I'm hearing the same conversations from 2000 all over again there about desktop. People really want to see banners here. I'm not sure this is different. I pay for this. I don't want to have to see a banner. So we are seeing now we need to get over that. I think the other thing we're thinking is related to that, which is lack of investment. As fast as it's moving on the dollar flow we saw, on the mobile commerce we saw in fourth quarter, it's still hard enough for me to get a good investment in desktop creative for a lot of clients and a lot of opportunities. I'm really seeing, we're already lagging consumer adoption of mobile in advertising. I think where we're especially lagging is investment in mobile creative in order to make the most of mobile platforms, especially since it requires some different programming, HTML, and those sorts of things. I get why it's a little bit slower, but we couldn't have more data to support, I don't think, the willingness or the reason to invest a bit to get mobile creative correct.
Yeah. I would say I agree with you in part, I disagree in some part. To be sure, we always fall into the same pitfalls and potholes that we do, but we're exponentially farther along than we were before. So the amount of dollars relative to offline advertising that are going into mobile is incredible compared to where desktop was to television 10, 20 years ago. So I feel great. I think we're really moving in a proactive and aggressive direction. I think as media practitioners, it's really incumbent upon us to move our clients in that direction. And like I said, I think we've got clients that we're insisting go big in mobile. I know it's unfortunately not a campaign that I was part of, but somebody on one of my teams did a Sony electronic campaign for the holidays with Amazon. It was 100% mobile because they realized that was where their audience was and that was purely transactional. And that's a pretty bold move to say we're going to go holiday campaign with an electronics product and be completely mobile. So I think that's something that wouldn't have happened 10 years ago where a client like Sony says, oh yeah, let's go 100% desktop. But they did, and the results were incredible because the ROI, the conversion rates are so high with mobile when you can actually transact on your device and purchase the product that you're looking for. But it's really incumbent upon us. I think we're at a really pivotal time. I think we can talk about mobile today, and Perrin, don't get me pissed at me, but next year this really shouldn't be the Mobile Media Summit, it should just be the Media Summit. Because what's that? There you go, okay. Well, I'm back then. Because I think we're really at that point in time where we're trying to be agnostic. I think you mentioned allergy medicine as a great example. It's actually something that we did for Johnson & Johnson. And it's one of my favorite campaigns ever. It was for Zyrtec, where a pollen count went up in a city and automatically, programmatically, an alert was triggered. And let's say you're in Boston, the pollen count was X. It said, oh, are you sneezing or your allergies bothering you? Take Zyrtec. And that's an amazing thing. It doesn't really matter what platform that's being delivered, whether it's your television or your mobile or your tablet or your desktop. And I think we're moving towards that direction. It's just incumbent upon all of us on this panel to be moving our clients and really pulling them into the future. I'm off my soapbox. I'll shut up now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a more compressed time frame. I think you do have to go through a lot of the same learning processes and conversations, but it's going, from my perspective, there's a lot of pressure, to go into programmatic and real-time buying, right now as it is. I don't think that the clients necessarily think of it that way, but they want the results, and ultimately, when you can get the better results, doing that, there's the pressure.
One thing that I've seen in the market is that overwhelming amount of mobile advertising dollars flowing down are very performance-oriented, very app download focused. A lot of the big brands, a lot of the big media agencies are not engaging and to some degree with mobile, and particularly mobile programmatic. And I'd be curious to hear what you guys think about like how truthful that statement is and where it might be moving, and also like we can after that maybe get into some of the hurdles that are keeping the brands in the sidelines.
There's a couple questions there, actually. Right? So which one do you want to, I mean, there's the app download question, right? And then there's the, are we on the sidelines of programmatic?
Well, let's start with just the fundamental, like, how do brands think about mobile now, from your perspective? And let's try to take it all the way to programmatic in the sense like, how sophisticated are they? Maybe they're doing some direct, deals with publishers and new things, but are they actually weaving a programmatic element into that?
Yes, I think we are weaving a programmatic element to it. And this is, again, where I say it's less incumbent upon the brands and more incumbent upon the media agencies to move them there. We want to be effective with their ad spends. That's the bottom line. And effectiveness takes a number of forms. It's ROI, and it's the investment of your dollars, and it's ROI as it relates to the soft, hard things like sales, and soft things like brand. It depends. I think mobile, because we talked about this, the portability and the personal connection you have offers us a much wider array of opportunities to engage with consumers. So it's not one size fits all. I would generally say I'm not about app downloads, right? What the hell does that mean? Unless I'm a game company or something like that. I think there's always a KPI we're looking for, and we're driving towards that. So if it's engagement, it's KPI X, and if it's conversion, it's Y. If it's app downloads, and it's app downloads, and I'm all about it. But we definitely are moving programmatic. Again, I think hopefully this is one of the last panels that we talk about this, because it's just becoming almost the table stakes for what we're doing. Just like it is in digital media. It's there. We've come out as an agency publicly and said, we're moving towards it, in a certain cadence, and in 3 years we'll be, 50% there. And I think that's just, again, table stakes for what we're doing, and hopefully it frees us up to really be thinking about, well, how do we utilize the specific media that we're looking at to accomplish a specific KPI?
I think there's a couple of forces at play. I mean, if you look at desktop, even now in 2014, I think eMarketer is just now projecting fast growth of brand spend in digital. It's definitely been a direct response, exploited media first, and it's finally catching up. And I think something like programmatic, that's a compressed time frame of going from direct response to brand, even on desktop, and hopefully we can shrink that in mobile as well. I think a lot of things have happened, and I think part of the reason that programmatic can blow up is both brands are coming to digital, and programmatic is just getting safe for brands now with verification and safety checks and those sorts of things. So I think mobile is being exploited just as desktop is. All people who can recognize those things that they can do well. Those are the endemics, really. Their games, their apps, their telcos, all the people that have money to be made on it. But I think that's part of what we're hoping here is trying to spread some information to make that compression fast. If we spend 10 years making mobile all about cost per download and crappy banners and cost per click, it's going to really.
We'll kind of debate on that if that takes that long.
I think that's back to my creative investment. We need some good HTML5 creative that can represent a brand pandemic. Sometimes there's always good movers, maybe entertainment, auto, usually sort of invest in acceleration in media. So bringing on the stupid work for them and do something bigger than cost per click.
Yeah, I think I have a little skewed perspective from that sense, in that the brands that come to us are already kind of mobile educated. They know they want mobile. They're coming to us for mobile, and it's just a matter of how do we most effectively get them the results they want. And whether that's programmatic or real-time buying or more direct campaigns or more branded campaigns, it all depends on the client. And it's from our perspective, it's happening. It's been accelerating throughout 2013. And clearly, the numbers are showing that there's a lot of investment being made, and I think it's only going to accelerate faster in 2014.
So maybe we touched a little bit on the creative issues that face this, having HTML5 and having the right kind of creatives. Would you guys have anything else to say on that? Well, it's certainly something we see, that a lot of people just won't come to the table prepared to do what you need to do in a mobile environment.
Well, I think, just from a mobile agency perspective, I think that's one of the things that, we really excel at, is the fact that it does take a little more, technical knowledge, is more creative knowledge of understanding how the platform works From an agency perspective, you just need to have that talent in-house. I mean, you really do, because brands are going to expect the same sort of quality they get from you in digital, and you need to be able to explain exactly what they can and can't get.
Well, maybe trying to run what's the cause of the results of that. But the biggest spenders on mobile right now, Facebook, are platform agnostic, things that you're not necessarily buying, Facebook, Twitter, and Pandora. None of those things are really mobile specific. So back to what's the call out here on mobile? It's just a channel of delivery. It's just who's consuming it. So, although I think that's our failing maybe is that we've had to settle for those things that get distributed by platform versus designing and delivering channel-specific excellence. So that's just kind of the challenge here. Yeah, you definitely need the skill set to do it. Maybe we've underserved it. There's a reason why those that are multi-platform are getting most of it. I mean, I think some of the big banner-centric mobile networks are having some challenges right now. So, all things don't necessarily flow. Hold the mic up. All right, I'll get better at it.
I think in some respects, is the mic close enough?
Yeah.
In some respects, I mean, I agree with you. Look, I mean, things should be more responsive in terms of design, and I don't come from the creative side of the house, but from a strategic side of the house, and from a media side of the house. Again, I mentioned them earlier, but somebody like Keep is really interesting to me because the creativity is in the media in some respects. Are you providing a relevant message at the right time? And in that regard, frankly, I don't give a crap. Right? I mean, I do, but I'm trying to be provocative. I say crap. But it becomes less important, how beautiful the creative is if I'm delivering something that's so relevant, whether it's a reward or discount or something else. If it's in that moment and it's germane to what I'm doing and it's purely native.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the advantage of programmatic is you can really drill down to the user, get to a very specific, target audience, and give them a very specific message for that audience. Sure, I'd love to say that, doing fancy HTML5 and having things, on a mobile that respond to the touch screen, the way that you can't do necessarily on another device is great, but it's that messaging and getting really targeted, that does matter. I agree with that.
What about data? We talked about this a little bit, and it's something we see, this sort of siloing of data in mobile web versus mobile app versus desktop. How big of this issue is it for you guys and your clients?
Huge.
Yeah,
Can you guys out there fix it, please?
I agree. I think it's one of the biggest things. I mean, I think creative is holding back, and also data clarity is holding back. I would say we have a hard time proving a winning mobile campaign just for lack of sort of the data transparency that clients have become used to in the desktop world. So we have, like we said, whether it's good or bad, part of what we've done over the last 10 years is create a data addiction and a performance addiction with desktop advertising. All good. I'm all for that. That's not an excuse, but I think that definitely is a challenge to get that right on the mobile side to get all the dollar flow we want there.
And it's not just the transparency, there's an incredible, that's why I look at the audience, there's an incredible lack of, there's no standardization. And that's,
yeah, I was going to say that the standardization is really what's not there yet, because there are data providers out there. There's tons of data providers out there for mobile. There are all sorts of, the problem is, quality control, making sure that it's all equal and standardized the way that it is on digital, at least more so on digital right now. So I think that the reason one of the reasons we are seeing an uptick in programmatic in 2015 is because the data is starting to come. It's not there necessarily yet. It's not standardized the way we'd like to see it, but it's getting.
Sort of the pivot on the same topic, and it's sort of an issue that we have to face is privacy. So now we have data about people all over the world, moving around during the day on their device. Where does privacy play? What does privacy play in terms of your planning against mobile? Like, is it something that's a concern? Is it something that holds you back in any way?
Well, we've got the NSA keeping it top of mind, so we don't have to bring it up to find stuff. It's the same, I think there's more, we should have real concerns about privacy, but I think the fuss made about it is bigger than the consumer demand right now. But I think that means we ought to be good protectors of the consumer interest here. I mean, I think everybody talks about, you get elected to any government office you want by saying, I'm going to not have cookies, except no one cares enough to delete their cookies or stop tracking. So, I don't know, we can have this group can decide if whether the industry has done well enough on self-policing that we could do the same for mobile and escape regulation. But I think, it clearly is a personal device. We clearly need to be mindful of that. I think there's good precedence in the desktop world about non-PII type information. I think we're going to have to be at least that careful for mobile for all the reasons of personal portability and privacy we've talked about.
Yeah, I think that certainly, we've had a precedent set, companies like Apple have done things and said, okay, you can't use this anymore, as far as UIDs and that sort of thing. And, the industry understands. The industry knows, whether they like it or not, that's another, topic of argument. But I think that there's a reasonable amount of direction that they can see from digital and what they know they need to do to escape regulation and to really kind of do it in the right way. Sorry.
I think we are doing a good job in terms of respecting privacy and policing that. But it's really, where we're failing is really in the PR battle, because if you ask any consumer, well, if I serve you this type of ad based off this type of information, they're going to want it. The relevancy is so incredible. So I think we're just losing the PR battle.
Yeah, I think the NSA isn't helping us out in that way.
No, and look, I'm a lawyer. There's a lot of legal implications in terms of what this information can provide, but I think ultimately people are willing to accept a lot so long as you give them something that's part of a real value exchange. I know as a consumer that's something I would want.
Have you guys seen any that in privacy concerns has impeded spend in the mobile front at all, or made people hesitate or slow down?
See what?
Oh yeah.
As concerns over privacy impeded
absolutely
people's desire to do mobile.
Well, from an advertising perspective, from brand, yeah, absolutely. We have a number of brands that are high-profile brands like Sony, who are more in the IP business and who are really respectful of people's PII. So I think those types of brands are really big brands who have a vested interest and a real interest in protecting the type of information are leery about what's going on.
Especially like even the pharmaceuticals like J&J, they're very, very respectful and aware of how information needs to be protected and anonymized and that sort of thing.
Sort of another opportunity that we discussed was mobile video. It's a new area in a lot of respects, the intersection of two growth areas in digital advertising in general. We think it's an interesting branding opportunity. It's also great performance, and it seems to be something good for consumers in some respects. So, what's your guys' take on mobile video? Is it becoming part of your planning? How important? What are some of the upsides?
We've got a lot of entertainment plans, so I think we're way ahead of the curve there. I don't even distinguish anymore between mobile video. Video is video. How we buy it is an issue, not what we buy. We're buying video, and we're trying to be germane to a platform.
What are some of the issues around buying video that you're encountering?
Well, it's more just, it's funny because people argue that there is a lack of inventory, and I would argue that in fact there's as much inventory as you want, because as everybody knows, everybody is suddenly in the content business. From portals to ad networks, everybody can create video now. So it really becomes about us choosing the right type of partners and getting the right type of distribution. But I think that, and I'm sure these guys will agree, there's nothing controversial about video, mobile video. I just want video wherever I can get it.
Yeah, mobile users, consume an enormous amount. You'd be surprised at first we thought it was all going to be short form video, but they'll watch full-length programs on video. I think that the only thing that I've seen that it's happening slowly but surely on video is it's difficult is maybe measuring. Being able to say if they watch this much video, on desktop it's a lot easier.
Well, television figured that one out.
Yeah, no real extra comments on the say that it's just yet another sign of mobile being in a post-feature phone, post-hostage time. Although I guess video can be a hostage time sort of experience, but the richness is just an example point of there being all kinds of brand appropriate content being consumed on mobile.
So, so we go back to the programmatic kind of theme. What data signals in the mobile environment do you think are powerful? What are you seeing success? Targeting, leveraging, analyzing that really drives results for your marketers.
And location is a huge one.
And well, app data, it's a good side. I haven't talked about mobile web versus apps so much, but for the good part about app is they offer an awful lot of data, obviously. So it depends whatever's unique or done to your client, whether it's geo or kind of usage or gameplay or trigger points, all those sorts of things. Obviously, sky's the limit on the accelerometer. When you're into the OS, of the device, you have a lot more options.
So when we talk geo, because it's one thing that makes mobile, right? It's moving around, like a geolocation. Are there certain aspects of mobile you care about? Do you care about the lat long? I mean, do you care about actually tracing where this happened or targeting a particular, one block area, or is it another aspect of it? Because I feel like there's different ways of thinking and slicing geo than just simply saying I'm going to target a lat long.
Well, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of ways you can come at it. I mean, from a conquesting perspective, if you can know that somebody's at a competitive store, I mean, that's a huge piece of information. And I think that on mobile right now, the data is still getting there. I mean, unfortunately, indoor GPS is not that accurate, and it does not necessarily provide everything you need. And that's why you're seeing things like iBeacons and other alternative technologies, to get more specific information about exactly how far they are from not only the store, but necessarily on this aisle, or are they on the pharmaceutical aisle? Maybe you want to say something or offer a coupon like people talked about earlier. So I'd say that there's a few different ways you can look at it from just a from a zip code perspective, or in that sense, very larger targeting, to get pod counts and all those sorts of things, all the way down to are they in the right aisle, or are they in a specific car lot, those sorts of things.
I agree. I just think we've seen how much energy is in the desktop space about retargeting, and it really doesn't take that much effort to go to a website. So to the degree that we start getting more and more fidelity around tracking on a lat long or on a location base, the idea that someone actually held their ass down to someplace, I think is a much stronger signal than checked out a website. And like I said in the beginning, I think that's going to be a major data point that mobile will contribute back to all aspects of audience-based targeting and programmatic.
Yeah, you can know from a retargeting perspective that somebody was at home, did something, and then went to a store and was in a specific aisle. You're almost at the point where they actually purchased a product. I mean, you're very close to it.
You guys, I think we touched on it briefly, but mobile application versus mobile web, do you guys see it differently? Does it matter at some level? Is there certain situations where you might go at mobile application inventory or mobile web differently? Just talk about the differences from your guys' perspective.
Well, I mean, like you mentioned earlier, I mean, from a technical perspective, you get a lot more from having an app. I mean, from the location, you might even get more specific location, because their GPS has been on all the time. So let's say if they're using something like Waze, you can get a lot more specific data from that app, and maybe contextually around that data, you might have more data. So, I mean, it all depends on what you're looking for. So from a development perspective, you get a lot more from apps. But, obviously there's a lot of people on mobile web, so I mean, you can't overlook that data as well.
Yeah, there's really nothing to disagree with there. Yes, I think certain types of apps are different. They're more editorial, more video, more game apps. So I think your KPIs vary. It's the same with mobile web. It's just you want to be considerate of the site and/or app you're going to and what they're providing from a value perspective.
All right, guys. By the way, I'm kind of disappointed in this panel. I must say, there's way too much.
I'm agreeing.
Way too much. I would expect it at least from you.
I know.
Some chairs being thrown.
He really tried.
I mean, I was going to throw a chair when you made that comment about the mobile.
Hey, I tried to kill your whole business.
Like my whole life. My kid's not going to school next time. All right. What are you going to do? All right, questions for this amazing panel. The panel that agreed on freaking everything. Jeez Louise. Mental note, don't put them on the same panel again next year.
What about you, Doug Chavez?
Is Doug still in the house? Okay.
He's got it.
Oh, do you have a question, Doug?
They've answered all my questions.
Touche. Okay, oh, we have two.
Thanks.
Introduce your company too?
Got it. I'm Evan Turner from Double Vision DSP. Maybe I'll get you to throw a chair now. Just curious, it seems like data was a really big topic that you guys were covering. A lot of brands want to own that in-house. A lot of the clients that we've been talking to have been discussing, and some have even brought that functionality in-house and away from the agencies in the last year. Can you guys talk to us about how you view that as a threat or an opportunity?
So do you say clients taking that in-house or?
Brands taking the functionality away from the agency and staffing that and building out their own tech stack.
You know, I haven't run into that yet. I mean, I think mostly with brands, we're still trying to sell them on the data idea. You know, brands want safety and have wanted context and are used to very traditional constructs of media. So, you know, I'd say, you know, we're just, like you were saying earlier, we're just sort of getting them into the idea of more nuanced targeting and data-based targeting. You know, I think the battle for the stack is sort of with agencies and holding companies and those sorts of things right now. It's a pretty big investment, and I honestly don't see it going to the client side. It's not their strong suit. There's too much money that moves too fast. So that's not something I've seen yet, except for maybe very scaled clients.
I totally disagree now. There's nothing to disagree with.
I would say that we have seen, from a DoubleClick perspective, a lot of marketers interested in gaining access to programmatic tool sets. But very rarely is that not done in conjunction with the media agency. So it's just, they want to have a war with
They want the data, they want the information, but they want the entire agency to filter through to give them necessary.
Yeah, and the problem is the marketer doesn't have the scale that an agency does to understand the full scope of what the media opportunities are and create
You take a brand and they have 10 people working in the marketing department, and they might have their agency might have 100 people on the account. I mean, it's just
As a digital agency 5 years ago, I was much more worried about clients not needing us, but now with data and mobile and social and programmatic, I feel like I got a couple of years going pretty. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is IPG is buying Google. Is that what you said? Get it on the record for the press and today?
actually we got the deal already.
All right, I like that. All right, we got one more question over here.
Hi, I'm Ken Margolis with AppTap, and I have a question just in general because I was reading some news a while ago where it says that we have to fight, fraud on the web. That a lot of fraud is, especially with RTB, takes place on the web. And is there, anything that we can do to protect ourselves in mobile for getting real good quality, non-fraud inventory?
It's just one case where I hope for a compressed timeline versus desktop. There's some great stuff going in viewability and verification. We need that to get to mobile as fast as possible. So that's one area we definitely don't want to relive, which is half of our advertising not being seen or being deliberately, purchased and sold as bot traffic.
Yeah, I strongly concur with that. We've learned a lot as we ran programmatic and display about how to filter the inventory and look for fraud and look for fraudulent activity. And that all can be applied against mobile. And that's not just Google and DoubleClick, that's the whole industry.
Janet? Is it done? You're saying you solved it?
I mean, it's never solved, or it's an ongoing problem, but I believe firmly that there are
I think it's Scott's calling you out right now.
Watch out. I think everybody's very aware of the problem and they're very concerned about it. Misclicks, as well, not just fraud necessarily, and they want to know, what's going on. And I think it's going to be a much faster rate, compression-wise, as far as getting up to speed and being able to protect against it.
Okay, guys, let's give a big round of applause. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, guys. Great panel. You know you need everything. All right. With that, I want to keep the train moving. I want to introduce our next panel to the stage. Creative innovation, making mobile sexy, and our moderator, Sky Holden.